Hello, everybody. This is Saponi Prince with Next Level Leadership Summit in our podcast. And we are now doing interviews of individuals who are leaders in their own right. And I couldn't think of no one else to have on my show other than the king of podcasts, my good friend, Barrett Matthews. And I'm going to let him tell you a little bit about himself and what he does in the area of podcasting and whatever else he has going on. Barrett, introduce yourself.
First of all, thank you, man. I appreciate you letting me be here in the interview with you, man. It's an honor that, like you said, we're good friends. So I appreciate you thinking of me, man. But as what I do, I work with executives and entrepreneurs to help them to reach that ideal client that wants to pay them, who may not know they exist. And I do that through podcasting. So what I do is I work with people to show them where those people are, how to reach them, how to get their message, and we put together a podcast for them. Either we do it ourselves, we show them how to do it themselves, or we do it for them. We have programs to do it for them so that they don't have to do the heavy lifting. That's what I do.
Okay, all right, cool. Well, I always getting in front of the people who need your product or service is critical, and being able to actually have a clear message and communicating that to them, it makes the difference in whether your cash register rings or don't. So your service is definitely needed. But man, listen, there's something that I wanted to really kind of start off with, because even in the structure of this podcast, we're going to be looking at two aspects of leadership. We're going to be looking at the personal aspect and then the more community or the external aspect of leadership. So our first question is, what does personal leadership, what does that mean to you?
Well, to me, it means accountability to oneself.
Okay.
And it also means integrity. So when we're talking about personal leadership, it's dealing with making sure that you can trust yourself. Yeah. Making sure when you say something that you're going to do something, that you do it, because you don't want to lie to yourself. That's integrity. You see, people think integrity, they think, oh, I have to make sure I keep my word to someone else. No, you have to keep your word to yourself first.
Yes.
If you can't keep the word to yourself, you will know, it'll be in the back of your mind throughout life that you can't trust your own word. And that's a horrible feeling, to know that you can't trust yourself. And I've heard people say that, I can't trust myself. Don't leave me in this by myself because I can't trust myself. So understand that's a personal type of accountability that you need to have. You can't lead anybody until you can lead yourself. So that's what my definition of personal leadership is.
Yeah, and that is so true. So true. I remember sharing with somebody, my personal definition of integrity. And that is when your intents, your words, and your actions, when they all line up.
Amen.
What you intend to do, what you say you're going to do, and what you do when they all line up.
They all line up. And then there's no question.
No question. And I give people the same example. My mom and my grandmother, they raised me, and my mom, she had more integrity in the area of discipline than my grandmama did. Because when my grandmother said, boy, I'm gonna spank you, I knew that she really didn't mean she was going to do what it would take to spank me. But when my mama said it, when the words came out of her mouth, I knew her intents, her words, and her actions lined
up. I got it from both.
You got it from both. I can imagine. So so personal accountability is so critical. And you talked about, keeping our promise to ourselves. I found, and this has been my own personal experience, that there are some promises that we make to ourselves that we keep come hell or high water.
Yes.
Some of them we do. Now, some of them, but some of them we will keep because of a promise we made to ourselves. I had a friend of mine who father promised him a car when he graduated high school.
Yeah.
He graduated high school and never got the car. So he made a promise to himself. He said, every time one of my children graduate high school, I'm gonna get them a car. Now, he didn't tell them this, but he kept his promise to himself because of that. And so going back to that accountability, we have to be accountable to ourselves.
Yes.
And And if we never spend time, in fact, developing that aspect of our personality, what'll happen is we won't be able to have that amount of integrity needed
Right.
in order for us to make a difference in the
Exactly.
marketplace, to make a difference in our homes and in our communities. If people know your word ain't worth ain't worth 2 cents,
Yeah.
what you say?
It doesn't, right. I mean, I literally had a conversation yesterday with an old friend of mine, and we were talking about another old friend and about something that he felt he could do to help him. And he goes, he said it, but you know, his word, everybody said his word. And that's what the guy said. I said, yeah, I know. I wasn't going to say it. But he said,
Right.
we know that this guy, he doesn't really keep his word. And that reputation can grow like wildfire.
That's true. So first of all, we need to learn how to be accountable to ourselves and how to keep our promise to ourselves. So that definitely helps us to focus on the personal aspect of it. Now, when we come back, we're going to talk about the leadership aspect of it and how we take what we just learned and focus on helping somebody else. So we'll be right back.
The wait is finally over for Saucony's most anticipated book of the year, Leadership That Lasts, passing on 10 solid principles to ensure an enduring legacy. Powerful, effective, impactful, helpful, dynamic, phenomenal, transformative, life-changing. Available now in Amazon. Order yours today.
Okay, and we're back. And if you didn't check out the first half of this, you definitely need to, because Barrett dropped some nuggets about personal accountability and integrity. But now we're going to look at how you take those two and how you apply that to leading others. So Barrett, how would you take that personal accountability and that integrity? How can you transfer or translate that into a leadership position to help other people?
I mean, it's actually kind of seamless, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. If you are personally accountable, right, and that means that you are someone who keeps your word to yourself. If you have integrity is not just something that you have with yourself. Integrity is who you are.
Right.
You know, so everybody knows. That means integrity is like your character. It's what shows when nobody's looking. It's what shows when you're not with your family. It's what shows when you're not with the people that love you. It's who you are. Right. So you could go all over the world. If you're a person of integrity, that integrity is going to show. So the leadership aspect of it's pretty seamless, because people want to follow someone they feel they can trust.
Right.
And if you're known as someone who keeps their word to themselves, it's going to be easy for you to keep your word to other people.
True.
Because keeping your word, being someone of integrity, becomes who you are. Right. And when it becomes who you are, it's easily recognizable. It's easy for people to trust you. And then here's the thing about leadership. Mm-hmm. Leadership, in my definition, is not defined by how many people are going to follow you. It's about how many leaders you can develop. Yeah. So I'm going to get a little biblical with you. So when we talk about Christ, Christ was a man of integrity.
Right.
Christ was a man of personal accountability. Right. Kind of what you said earlier. What he thought, what he did, what he said, all lined up.
Yeah.
Everybody wanted to follow someone like that.
Yeah.
So he had people that were following him in doing that.
Right.
Now, when it came to leadership, what he did is he developed leadership. The disciples became leaders. They were disciples of him, of his teaching, of his way of living.
Right.
The ones that couldn't hold up to that, as you know, they didn't last.
That's true. That's true.
Because it didn't line up.
Right.
It didn't line up. The ones that did, we still read about them. We read about Paul all the time, because these are the things that lined up. So when you have the personal accountability, the personal integrity, it's an easy transition into leadership in other avenues, in your community, in your business, and everything that you do, in your church, and everything that you do, because it becomes who you are, and people will recognize you. Some of the greatest compliment I got from one of our business colleagues. He said that someone asked him about me. Just asked him about me. And then he said, well, what I told him about Barrett is that Barrett has integrity. That meant a lot to me. He don't know how much that meant to me. To think that because you don't know what other people think about you all the time.
Right, it's true.
It meant a lot to have him say that to me, because it's good to know that at least one person thinks that way of you. So it's a good thing to hear. So if you can carry that on and let other people feel that you have integrity, that you're someone that can be trusted, then it's easy for them to feel that they should want to follow you because you're a leader, and they can look to you to help develop them as a leader as well.
That's true. That is so, so true. And you hit the nail on the head about, being able to actually model integrity, model leadership, model accountability. It's not do as I say, not as I do. I mean, it's when you fall short, when you mess up, you own up to it. You are accountable.
Yes. Yes.
So
we all mess up.
Yeah, you are absolutely right. So, man, listen, I want to thank you for joining in. This particular podcast is going to really draw that correlation between personal leadership and then corporate leadership, or leading others. I call it inner leadership and outer leadership. We learn how to lead ourselves, then we can learn how to lead others. But I tell people all the time, you can't adequately lead other people until you learn how to lead yourself.
You got that right. Man, first of all, what you're doing right here is straight up leadership.
Well, hey.
It's straight up leadership, brother. I appreciate you for it, because, man, you're a great leader. You're a phenomenal leader. And me and you, we down like 4 flat tires. But I tell you, man, I'm proud of you, brother. I appreciate what you're doing. Yeah,
well, thank you so much. And yeah, like you said, we go back like Cadillac seats.
That's right.
But man, I want to thank you for being on this. Again, tell people how they can check you out, where they can find you at online, how they can connect with you, because I know that there are some people out there who want to start their own podcast and they need help. They need some instruction. Either they want to do it themselves or they want to have it done for them. So tell them how they can get in contact with you.
Well, I'll tell you, there's 2 things I have for you. One is Media Boss Club. You can be in the Media Boss Club. All you have to do is go to MediaBossClub.com. We have a done-for-you podcast. We have different levels depending on where you are, but we actually will put together your podcast for you. Oh, cool. You can just have us do it for you. And we have different levels for wherever you meet you. But I want to tell you, I have an event coming up called Create Your Podcast Weekend. Ooh. We're going to do 2 days, Create Your Podcast Weekend. We're going to show you how to assemble your podcast. Some of you may not want us to do it for you. Some of you may want to do it yourself. That's fine. We're going to show you everything you need to do in order to make that podcast successful. Come to the weekend, learn how to do that. For those of you who consider yourselves VIPs, you want to be top. We have a VIP program that actually we will give you your podcast equipment as a VIP. We're gonna, you get your headphones, you get your microphones, you get your soundboard too. We're gonna give you all of that as part of the VIP package. So all you do is go to Create Your Podcast Weekend. I recommend that you do that and get a podcast done for you, because that way, while we're doing it for you, you know exactly what we're doing. So those are what you have now. CreateYourPodcastWeekend.com, or you can go to MediaBossClub.com, but you can go to both.
Okay, all right. Well, we're definitely going to have those links in the description of this podcast. You can check those out. You can connect with my good friend Barrett Matthews, and you can get your podcast done, because, podcasts now are on fire. They are on fire, which is one of the reasons why you're listening to this one even now. Right. So if you need some help getting your podcast off the ground and getting it going, I couldn't think of no one better to recommend than my good friend Barrett Matthews.
Thank you, buddy.
Man, listen, I want to thank you for coming on here and for just sharing your wisdom, your insight, and your nuggets. And I just want to thank you again for just being a man of integrity. So
thank you. Same to you. And thank you for leading people, brother.
All right. Well, with that being said, we're going to wrap up this podcast, and we thank you so much for tuning in. And if you have any questions, comments, or criticisms, we take them all. You can respond on this podcast. Listen, we'll talk to y'all later. Bye.